Hello everyone and welcome to SermonLink. I'm Pastor Larry Brown, and today we're going to be focusing in Luke's Gospel, chapter 21, as you can see, verses 5 through 19. These are important words of Jesus to those who were gathered around him in that ancient time, but they're words that speak powerfully to us. So let's hear the passage and then we'll reflect on it together. When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, he said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another, all will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be, and what will be the sign that this is about to take place?" And he said, "Beware that you are not led astray, for many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and 'the time is near.' Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately." And then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you, and they will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance, for I will give you words and a wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will perish. By your endurance you will gain your souls." Well, that's the end of the reading, and quite frankly, that is enough for one session and 1 week as we think about this passage together. This is toward the end of Jesus's ministry and his teaching. His disciples have followed him through thick and thin. And in this particular chapter, the focus of Jesus's words are on what we often refer to in very official ways as apocalyptic literature. In other words, what he's teaching, particularly the images that he lifts up, call to mind the end of time, the end of the world, if you will. These images of wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and all of the things that shake the very earth and core of the earth itself. And in the midst of all of that turmoil, God brings about the very end of what God intends throughout all of creation. So it's a very somber image and picture, and it focuses on the things that often bring some anxiety to us, frightening images of the end of time. Of course, as Jesus starts to speak about these things, the people say, "When is this going to happen?" They want to know so they can be prepared. And that's when Jesus then shifts their focus away from the end, knowing how important that is for them to grapple with, and focuses them back on what's happening now. And he says, yeah, there'll be an end time, just as there was a beginning time. But we are, he says, in a time of testimony. These are opportunities, the struggles that we face, the hardships that we face, to testify, Jesus says, to the power and presence of God. In fact, Jesus says, I will give you the words to say, so that what you speak will speak with authority and will speak with authenticity. So that was the word for that group of disciples that were with Jesus back in this ancient day. And it's our challenge to try to figure out, well, what's he saying to us? Is there anything here that can be helpful to us? And of course there is. And I think the way to get at it is, again, not to focus on when the end of things are going to happen, but What's happening now? What in our world is our challenge? What do we face that sort of can shake us to the core? That might be the political landscape. That might be realities in your family or in your life or in your relationships. It could be your very faith. Sometimes that gets shaken. It could be the trust or the appreciation you have for the church. Maybe that itself becomes shaken. And what Jesus says to us is, in the midst of all of that, as we hold on to the name of Christ, we are given a testimony. And that testimony is to focus on where God is for us in the midst of this. We're not called to escape the hard places. We're called to endure the hard places. And the way that we endure that, Jesus says, is knowing that God is with us. And we give testimony to it. So instead of giving testimony or words to the reality that we hear from so many other places in this life and world, the things that divide us, the things that are broken, the things that aren't correct, the things that we are unhappy with or dissatisfied with, instead of all of that negativity, we, because we know God is with us now until the end, can focus on a message that brings life. And so our testimony is to the power of love. Our testimony is the fact that people matter more than policy. Our testimony is that forgiveness brings weight loss, in the sense that it lifts from our shoulders that which tends to press us down. So the hard places in which we find ourselves are very significant moments when we can, in whatever way we're able to, given our own unique personalities and situations, speak to the reality of God. And so that's the encouragement this week and in the days ahead, to find those opportunities that God gives us to speak a word of love, a word of hope, a word of healing, a word of forgiveness and grace. And as we do that, we are at one with Christ, who actually is that word of good news for us and through us. And it helps not only us, but those around us to persevere and to endure. Friends, hold steady this week. Endure and know that Christ is with you in that, and trust the ways in which Jesus gives you the message for you, not only to carry in your heart, but to share with others so that their hearts too might be encouraged. Hey, we'll see you next time on SermonLink. For now, take care. God bless.